sunny Florida, Daytona Beach area, which is where we picked up our RV on Saturday night. And today is the first time that I've been able to have a quiet time for like a week and a half, because it was just like a really crazy week getting ready to get out here. And normally my first hour of the day is mine, and I don't have kids jumping at me, but that hasn't been the case. And so it's been really refreshing to get back into the Word this morning. And right now I'm doing the year in a Bible, and I'm in catch-up mode. And so I got through my Deuteronomy reads and my Psalm reads, which are really awesome books to read together. Deuteronomy, for context, because context is king. Deuteronomy is Moses basically reminding the Israelites of everything they've been through. And they're about to enter the promised land, but Moses doesn't get to go because of the whole striking a rock too many times. And so he's just desperately trying to remind them of everything that they've gone through to get to this place. And more importantly, everything God has done for them to get them to this place to enter the promised land. And then in the remembering, he's saying, okay, here's how we move forward. Remember God's faithfulness to you, and don't forget it. And when you get to the promised land, here's how you're going to continue to remember me, because your travelings are almost done, et cetera, et cetera. And then Psalm, kind of in parallel to that, which takes place many, many, many years later, David is writing. I'm at the part where it's kind of mixed between David and anonymous people, but they're basically writing about God's faithfulness and the majesty of who God is, but and also his faithfulness to us outside of our faithlessness. And the reason that this is provocative to me, I was having a conversation with a friend. You know what I mean? I was having a conversation with a friend that said someone told her that we don't have to think about our past because God forgets our past. And I think that's a fancy theology, but I don't think it's right theology, because all of Deuteronomy is about remembering. All of Psalms is about remembering. And Jesus came because he remembered. So I guess what I'm wanting to say is, I think remembering our past, remembering the past of our ancestors, remembering our history is extremely important. And I think it's not just important in the context of knowing how far we've come or how we've changed or how God has changed us, but I think more importantly, especially as believers, it's important for us to remember so that we can remember how God has been faithful, and faithful to us, and faithful to our ancestors, and faithful to all different people. Because in remembering his faithfulness, we learn so much about his character and his faithfulness to us when we're faithless. I loved in Psalm 103, it has, all of the songs that we like to listen to. The Lord is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger and abounding in faithful love. He will not always accuse us or be angry forever. He has not dealt with us as our sins deserve or repaid us according to our iniquities. I love that, because back in Deuteronomy, it talks about how God is fair and to judge fairly, because there's a lot going on in regards to how to properly judge the people. If there's manslaughter, if there's thievery, theft, you know what I mean? How to do that, I just ended Deuteronomy 19, which a lot of people like to use. Do not show pity, life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, and foot for foot. It's a very different way of living, and that's a whole other thing we can get into, talking about why that's even there. But I guess what I'm saying is, God is a God of remembering. He, in chapter 16 of Deuteronomy, he's talking about all these festivals: the festival of Passover, the festival of weeks, the festival of shelters, all this celebrating and remembering. These festivals happen to remember. They're to stop everything that you're doing, all of your productivity and your work and these things that keep you busy and feel important. Stop all that, give a portion to God, and remember where you've come from. And then conversely, final thought to all of that is, one of my favorite things about why we live as Christians here and what hope we have in the future is that in our remembering, there will come a day when we won't have to remember anymore, and God will always remember. That's beautiful to me. We live weary lives on earth, and remembering is part of moving forward and being humble and growing. But one day when we're in the new heaven and the new earth, when he wipes away every tear from our eyes, included in that is we no longer need to remember. We're just in God's presence. That's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that we get to stop remembering and be present, fully present like we always long to be. And God never stops remembering. That's how faithful he is to us. Anyway, I hope that's encouraging for you today. Can't wait to show you more of this crazy adventure.